everyone, this video is brought to you by Project Usaari, a social initiative that aims to increase the access of public speaking amongst the students of Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities across India. This video is the fourth video in the series called Basics of Public Speaking, the 10-minute series. In today's video, we're going to discuss how to structure a speech. This video will perhaps be one of the most important videos that we're going to cover in the entire series, so make sure that you stay with me till the very end. And just a disclaimer that I wanted to give before I begin with the video, that this is an extremely important topic, so I might exceed the time limit to complete this video, so just excuse me for that. Now, in today's video, we're first going to discuss what is the structure and its importance. Secondly, a beginner friendly structure that you can use, and thirdly, how you can implement that structure. Firstly, what is a structure? So understand, structure is just an order in which you present your ideas so that people can follow you easily. So let's take the most basic example, and this is an example that has been very consistent from the last 3 videos. Now, when you're in a classroom and your teacher is trying to explain you a difficult concept or an easy concept for that matter, your teacher always tries to break the concept into very simple parts, right, so that you're able to understand it in a much better way. And how it helps is that you're not only able to understand the concept very well, but secondly, it becomes easier for the teacher to make you understand the concept as well, because they have broken that entire concept into different parts, into smaller parts that are easier to convey to you. Will be able to understand what a structure is if you're still not able to understand it via an example that will be covered in the video, right? Now, what is the importance of structure? Before you even try to structure a speech, it is really important to understand why is that we even require structure in the first place, right? Firstly, you need structure because it reduces fear. That is, it reduces fear by the means that you're not guessing what to say next. You already have a mental roadmap. I think this is extremely important. In the last session that we discussed on why people fear public speaking and how you can overcome it, I explicitly mentioned that the biggest way how you can reduce fear is by structuring your speech, because that way you're not guessing what you have to say next, because you will already have a mental roadmap. You already know that, okay, these are the pointers that I have to speak after I complete this particular pointer. Now, take for example, when you're in an exam, a science or a social science exam, because there's a lot of content that you have to cram. Now, in those extremely theoretical subjects, you learn a lot of material, right? And you always break such an extensive material into smaller different parts so that you're able to understand the material in a much easier way. And that material not only A, helps you to understand it in a much easier way, B, but it also helps you recall in a much faster way. So just relate that concept over here. If your speech is structured, if your speech is divided into smaller parts, you're not only making it easier for yourself, but also easier for the audience and the judge who is evaluating you. Secondly, it prevents going blank. That is, even if you forget a line, you know the next section. That is to say, if there are three main points in your speech, and even if you three main points in your speech, and then there are two different points in all of those three main points, even if you forget one point from the first piece of your structure, you actually know that you are already going to speak the next piece of your structure. So that's really not going to make your entire speech very haywire. Instead, you will know in your mind, you will be like, okay, even if I forget this line, I still have the next theme that I can talk about. So believe me, this might sound very abstract again right now, but as I proceed further, as I explain you with an example, and when you try writing the speeches yourself, you'll be able to understand it in a much easier way. Thirdly, structure makes you sound confident. Please listen to this very carefully. A lot of people, even a lot of teachers and adults, think that meaning that being confident means you have a really good personality, that you have an extremely good body composure, that maybe you have really good expressions, that you have really good gestures, which is completely fine. It is extremely important for you to have a good personality, because it just makes you look confident. um, Mark my words, it makes you look confident, but it does not necessarily mean that you are confident, because confidence really comes when you actually know that the speech, that the content that you've written is purely your writing that you've written, and is purely coming from a place of proper structure, of proper steps. So yes, expressions, your body language, your gestures are extremely important in public speaking, but something that is even more important is structure, is your content. Because if the content is not right, if you're not able to make people understand what you want to say, then believe me, there's no point in doing public speaking, right? Because the entire point of public speaking is that you want to explain, you want to deliver a message to people. Hence, you really, really, really should be able to make things easier for people to understand, because that is the only way it's going to make sense. Fourth, it keeps the audience engaged. Understand, if people can follow your thinking, there'll be no confusion, and if there's no confusion, there's not going to be any boredom. And I think a lot of people feel that you have to be extremely energetic and you have to be extremely loud per se when you're delivering a public speaking speech. I'm not sure about loud, but yes, you have to be extremely confident and extremely active when you're delivering a speech, because even if your content is good but you are extremely dull, believe me, nobody is going to even listen to your speech. And I think being loud does not mean at all that you are a good public speaker. Please, please believe me, being loud does not mean that you're a good public speaker. Yes, your content might be good, but being loud in public speaking is surely not going to get you anywhere, because it's really not trying because it just means that you're being loud for like no reason at all. So maintaining your composure, maintaining a good body posture, and maintaining expressions is extremely important. But again, you have to understand that what is more, even more important, is maintaining a structure of your speech that will only come if you prepare for the speech yourself. Now, this is one of the most important slides here, a beginner's structure. So here, what you see here is a very, very, very basic structure that you see, right? So a point, that is a simple line of what are you saying? What do you want to tell? Then explain that point. Why does it matter? If I'm saying friendship, if I want to speak something on friendship, and I say that friendships are really important, I have to explain why does it matter. Because friends help you when you are in, like, when you are in need. Then give an example. Then you have to make it real by incorporating an example from your own life, or maybe some example that you found on the internet. So if I say that friendships are really important, it is important because friends help you whenever you're in need. I can say, for example, my friend helped me complete the entire schoolwork when I was really unwell. And then you connect it back to your topic. That is to say, I'm sorry, I'll end the speech by saying that because my friend helped me so much when I was ill, I can say, hence, friendships are not only important for are not only important for when you are in need, but they're also important for you to maintain throughout your lives, something like that, right? So please, please, I really request you all to just memorize this structure, because this is the most basic structure, and this is a really effective structure if you start following it. Because once you start following it, you'll notice yourself how your speeches have become better, how you're able to make your message understood by other people in a much better way. And thirdly, it will also help you understand why you're writing that speech. Of course, this structure is extremely foundational, because as you write more, as you practice more, as you get yourself involved in public speaking more and more, you will understand the complexities that might be there in this structure as well, and you can just improvise as you improve, right? So there's really just not a very big deal. So I'll explain you with an example here, right? Why is exercise important? Now here's my point. Exercise improves mental health. I want to explain it. Then I'll say that, oh, exercise improves mental health because it reduces stress. It reduces stress and improves mood. And then I give an example. Even a 20-minute walk can make you feel calmer. And then link it back to your point. That's why exercise is not just physical but mental too. So just understand the structure, just absorb the structure, and just try to implement it whenever you are in a whenever you have to write a speech in the future. Now, how can you implement it then, right? Step 1 is to think in points and not in sentences. Don't memorize paragraphs, just know your key points. This is just so important, because I think your teachers in your school, whenever you're learning for a very theoretical subject like social science or science, your teachers might be telling you that you really don't need to memorize entire paragraphs, because if you've understood the concept, you can figure out the main keywords from that concept, use it and explain it in your own words. Believe me, public speaking is no different than this concept. You have to pick out, if you understand the concept of the purpose of you writing your speech, believe me, you will be good to go. If your research is really good, if your background reading before you write your speech is really good, you will never ever fear this. You will never ever fear not memorizing your speech, right? Because you know that, oh, these are the main points of my speech. Even if I forget, I can explain them on my own. This might again sound very random, but believe me, once you actually start trying it, see guys, whatever I'm telling you in all of these videos, it's not going to help you until you implement it yourself. So it's really important that you implement it. You have to start implementing it to know the results, because me speaking like this, it's just giving you an advice. I'm just advising you as to how you can improve a certain thing, and you really have to try it for yourself to actually see if it works for you. Because public speaking is all about improvising, it's all about adapting to your own needs. This is not like a blueprint of this is exactly what you have to do. It's just a basic idea that, okay, this is how things work. Try it yourself, explore, please explore as much as you can, and then just do what you want to do. This is just to give you a basic idea. Anyways, the step 2 is just write 3 to 4 bullet points before speaking. Step 3 is practice speaking using the framework. Say your point, explain it, give an example, and this should have been and I should have added, link it back to your conclusion. This is just simply a reiteration of what we did in the last slide. And fourth, I think this is so important. Start using it everywhere, in your class answers, conversations, presentations. Let me explain, and let me spend some crucial time over here. I believe that a lot of us, we undervalue and undermine the value of class discussions, because a lot of the debaters that I know, a lot of like national and international debaters and public speakers I know, they were all extremely diffident. But one thing that was common in all of them was that they were really interested in class discussions. They were really interested in questioning their teachers. They were really interested in answering a lot of questions, asking a lot of questions in class. And these are the things that spark your interest as a public speaker. If you're going to simply remain quiet in your class, quiet in your classes, in just out of fear or just out of the fear of not being teased by your peers for being called the teacher's favorite. Because believe me, I've been there, I've done that. A lot of students feared this particular thing, but believe me, it's nothing. Once you start answering in class, once you start discussing things in your class, I mean, take your social science class for example. I feel there's a lot of taboo around social studies class, that social science is extremely boring, social science, like, it just makes you want to sleep. But believe me, there's like no more of an interesting subject than social science, because it just helps you know so much about your surroundings. And I think it's really important for us as students to understand the importance of that subject, and understand the importance of questioning in that class. So the next time, whenever you're in your social science class, or for any class that matter, I'm just giving you an example, ask questions, discuss with your teacher, give your opinions. Believe me, no teacher is ever going to stop you from giving your opinion. In fact, teachers are extremely happy when their students give like a lot of opinion, a lot of new information, because it just makes them feel proud. And I think every teacher deserves that. Secondly, in conversations, of course, you won't be conversing in English, or you won't be conversing in such a structured, or in such a structured and formalized way with your friends, I know that. But the least you can do is that whenever you have to converse with an elderly person, or whenever you have to converse with um an official person, say your principal or your teacher, just try to follow this point, just try to follow this method, right? Because it helps you, it helps to um it helps to verbalize whatever your problem is, whatever your concern is, in a much better way. So you should really try it. For example, let's take the most basic example, your school applications, right? Suppose um if you have to take a leave for maybe a week because you have a family function, and your school requires you to write an application, a leave application, try writing that yourself. It's really not that big of a deal. You really don't need to care about the format. Your parents can do that for you. But try writing those applications yourself. Try writing the answers on your homework yourself. So what if the answers get wrong? There's always a chance to improve, right? But like, the most basic thing is that try writing those applications yourself, try doing your essay homeworks that you might get in English yourself, because it'll really help you improve. And please remember to use this structure, because it'll help you to become more efficient. And lastly, use it in presentations. If your school does a lot of activities, then be sure that if you ever get a chance to speak in those presentations, use this structure, because it'll help you. Again, these are just little tips that you can use to start your implementation for this format. Because until you do not start using it, it's really not going to work. It's really just going to be all words, and you really do not want that. Now, this brings us to the end of this session. But before I end, do check the description box below for a free assignment and a printable improvement tracker, which you can use for tracking your performance whenever you're like practicing and incorporating public speaking in your daily timetable. I hope you enjoyed this session. In the next session, we're going to discuss how to write a speech without being boring, so make sure that you do not miss that session. I hope you enjoyed this session. I'll meet you in the next one. Thank you.